Welcome to Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. As usual, I am Adam, and once again, joined with me is a very special friend of mine, Mr. Michael Sharp.
Hello and welcome. How we doing, Adam?
Doing well. Man, let me tell you something. This last couple of weeks have been busy. We have got a lot of stuff packed for the beginning of this show, but as far as me, I'm good.
Good.
Hopefully you and the family are doing well.
We are doing just fine, so can't complain. But I'm excited though because, like you said, we got a lot of stuff. We've had a lot of people writing in about all sorts of different things.
I'm where do we begin? I've got a guest on listener spotlight, which I'm not going to give away yet. Um, we have our first subscription. Now, we really didn't push this very hard. We do have a subscription service. What do you get for that? Nothing. You get the idea of feeling like you're helping out the boys of Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. Now I know sometimes if you are a podcast subscriber, you get bonus content or special things, but I just want to say thank you to Scott. He is our friend. He was a phenomenal interview. He and his family have sent us endearing, wonderful messages behind the scenes and very supportive. So. Scott is our first monthly subscriber. And who knows, Scott, I have your
Hey,
text. Maybe I'll give you a behind the scenes play by play look.
have we sent Scott anything?
We need to send him some
We need
stuff.
to send him some stuff. Yeah, we can
We've
send
got
him
some stuff to send.
some tchotchke, some swag, whatever you want to
Oh,
call it. Yeah,
yeah,
we can absolutely. We'll hook him up.
that's right. So thank you, Scott. If you're wondering what that is all about, on our site, you can click on to support us. I think the minimum level is $3 a month, and I don't know. You can probably go bonsai, but just kind of helps us out with fees for our platform and everything else, and keeps the show going. So, Scott, I feel like
Thank you.
the PBS phone banks are ringing back here. So thank you so
Chevy.
much, buddy. Um, Also, something exciting that we had this round was fan mail. So we really didn't
What?
push this. Yeah, I know we really didn't push this very well. But if you go to our Buzzsprout landing page to
Mm-hmm.
listen to the show, cyclingmenofleisurePodcast.com, and you see there's a little link there that says send us a message, and that is called fan mail. So depending on what your platform is to listening to the show, that there's definitely it's there. I'm not sure if Buzzsprout has got it out to other platforms yet, but I guarantee you can do that. And so we had a piece of fan mail. Now fan mail works like this: it is only a one-way communication. So if you're out there and you're like, I sent those boys a message and they didn't write back. Fan mail is a one-way
So I
message to us,
can't we can't send a response back to them.
and we cannot. We don't even get
But
the
you know
option.
what we can do? We could respond to their fan mail via our podcast.
And I'm going to do that right now
Oh, okay,
because
cool.
the message was, how much time do you spend weekly on the podcast? This message
Oh,
came in from Overland Park, Kansas. So Overland Park,
Overland,
Kansas.
really?
Yeah,
That's like right down the road from me. I mean, it's like we're neighbors.
I know. I played Top Golf with you there.
Yeah, I have to hook up with this person and go riding or something. Yeah,
And
that's
as
cool.
far as anybody knows, that's the only place where there's a Starbucks by you. So we have to go to Overland Park when I want a Starbucks. So
I tried to convince him that there was no Starbucks in Kansas City, but that didn't work.
that app tells me everything. By golly, hey, you know what this week is? Small side note. I know that you're a Bonvoy member. If you order 3 times this week, you get 100 Bonvoy points. So, well, except this will be recorded and then it'll be over.
You know how many times I'll order this week?
0.0.
Zero. But I own their stock, so I'll be happy to promote them to anybody else who wants to participate. So, anyway, getting back to what did our listener in Overland Park, Kansas, have to say?
How much time do you spend weekly on the
Hmm.
podcast?
You know, I would say some weeks we don't spend anything. Obviously, we do a podcast every 2 weeks, but I would say over the course of that 2 week period, I'd say probably 3 hours. I mean, when you look at our prep time one night and then our recording another night, and then generally a third night when we're doing production work. You think it's more or less than that?
No, I think it's about average. I mean, in between, there's a few pieces behind the scene. I don't want to make it sound like it's that daunting. I mean, if you can open up a Facebook account and have Facebook, you can do anything that we do in the podcast. So, but there's some homework to continuation.
Yeah, I've got to find cities and things like that. But I mean, I would probably okay if we want to figure in that. I'd probably say 3.5 hours in a 2 week period.
Yeah,
Is that
episode.
fair?
Yeah, I think
per
that's fair.
episode.
And then, there's time like putting all my notes together and just different things like that. But I usually multitask while I'm, now that it's football season, I kind of have a notepad next to my desk and then I'm next to my chair and then I write stuff down. But when things come about, but I think that's a very fair answer in between editing and recording and getting everything going. Some weeks might be more because there might be something coming up, such as like when we did the RAGBRAI announcement party or the interview with
Mm-hmm.
Franklin beforehand. Some of those weeks, a little bit more, and well, sometimes we work very late into the night. So obviously, we both have jobs, and you have family with children. I just have a wife myself and a couple of cats, but they're good cats, by the way.
Yeah,
But
they're needy cats, is what they are.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
but some nights we work really late,
Mm-hmm.
and only because they took the time to write us in Overland Park, Kansas. While Michael and I make many jokes, well, I'm the one who makes most of the jokes about the time difference. There have been many nights where we worked, and all of a sudden I look at the clock on the computer and I'm like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "It's almost midnight. I gotta go to bed. And I gotta work in the morning."
No,
So
no, it's not.
it's 11 for you, but I mean,
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
yeah. Somehow I don't think that is the. But anyways, yes. So most of the show is in the evening, or sometimes we do like
Sometimes on
Saturday
a
mornings
weekend.
real
Yeah.
quick if you're depending on your plans and everything going on. So, but no. So Overland Park, Kansas. Thank you for taking the time to write us. If you have an interesting message you'd like to send us, go to cyclingmenofleisurepodcast.com. You can. It's just like any other launching pad. Matter of fact, it'll take you to any launching pad that you like, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, any of them that you like. But right there's a place where you can actually send us a message. So send it out to us, and we'll definitely answer your question. Or, I mean, you don't have to have a question. You could even just say, "You guys made me laugh" at minute marker or something or whatever. It's just a way for the listener to send us a one-way message. So, oh, here's an interesting thing. Do you remember on the last episode when I asked you, did you listen to podcasts in your life? And you said not really, but if there's something that's interesting that you do. But then I
Yeah.
asked you what speed you listen to them. I told the story about like I listen to true crime, and they're like, and then his footsteps slowly went through the kitchen. So I always fast forward. It's like, oh, and his footsteps went through the kitchen. And so I asked the listeners uh, if anyone could give us a report back, and we got a report back.
Okay. So what
Ed,
speed?
the winner of our last listener spotlight. He texted me this morning. I was out doing my workout, and all of a sudden, all that came through the headphones were bing 1.6. What is 1.6? I didn't know what 1.6 was. I'm like, what is that? And I pulled up my phone, and it said Ed said I listened at 1.6. So
Mm.
Ed, thank you for the response. Ironically, I couldn't get my Apple. I like Apple Podcast. It won't go to 1.6, so I did whip out our show while I was finishing my walk there, and I put us at 1.5. I don't
Is that
know.
really
Ed might have.
fast?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty decent, but Ed might have something to go there. I mean, it was like even our jokes would be like, So yeah, 1.5. I mean, it was an hour and 12 minute show. You could get it done in like 40 something minutes. So
Okay.
I appreciate Ed writing back. And before the listener spotlight guess, I have one last thing.
Okay, let's hear it.
We I was going to say we, but let's be honest. You once said to me how cool it would be if somebody
Uh-oh.
was wearing the jersey on rides that we're not partaking in. And so
Yes.
I'm going to miss somebody. I know I'm going to miss somebody. So I just want to let the ones that I have visually seen in the last few weeks are our friends Audra and Natalie, who are
Oh,
up in the
yes.
Northwest British Columbia
British Columbia. Yeah.
doing a ride. They were wearing the Cycling Men and Cycling Women of Leisure jerseys, so we appreciate that. Um, Also, Brat, at the time of this recording, Bike Ride Across Tennessee is taking place. And we've had 3 people so far. And there might be more, I don't know. But 3 people, our friend Ron,
Hmm.
and Sandy and Steve, who were on last year's team, and Ron, I believe, the year before. So, good people there wearing the jersey. And last but not least, our friend Mandy from Kentucky
Kentucky.
did a ride,
Yes.
and I saw that she had the jersey on. So if I notice you, I normally usually go give you a big heart, on Facebook and make a comment. And like on Mandy's, I put nice jersey. So you guys are awesome. Thank you for showing the colors out there. So if I missed anyone, my apologies, and thank you for what you do, and keep it going. So
Yeah, if you're out on a ride, take a picture, have somebody take a picture of you, whatever, and with your cycling men or cycling women jerseys on, and send it into us, and let us know where you're riding at. That would be cool.
perfect. All right. So now, in usual style, I'm happy to tell you that we have a guest for the listener spotlight. And so,
Okay.
as usual, would you like to let me give you the clues first and then the guess?
Let me give you the clues first, and then you give me the guess.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for listener spotlight.
All right. This episode's listener spotlight had the following clues. Its harbor has a unique distinction around the world. The city has influenced how large numbers of people travel around our country. The city once held a very fiery title. If you visit the city, local tales suggest you might need a bigger boat. And the final one is the city can take a little credit for a major award in literature.
See, last episode I guessed. Now we have another guess. But
Okay.
last episode I threw out impulsively Boston, Massachusetts. But now that you just reread the clues, I don't think Boston, Massachusetts holds a can of water because leaning back onto you're going to need a bigger boat has to be on the west side of the United States of America, which leans more to the
Why
guess
is that? What's the logic in that, if I
because
may ask?
the Jaws movie wasn't it filmed like on a beach in California?
No, sir, it was not. I hate to disappoint you.
It wasn't.
No, it
Where
was
were we
filmed on the
supposed?
East Coast.
Oh, was it really?
It was supposed to represent like Cape Cod. If I remember right, it was done over there somewhere, but
Oh,
it was not on the West Coast, if I remember correctly.
oh. Well, we did have a guess. Now this guess is close to home. My cousin Mark is an avid cyclist,
Okay.
and very big supporter of the show. Very, very interesting to have someone who listens, who has the messages, and um, um, then I get up in the morning and I see after he's listened, he's sent me some stuff. So Mark has guessed San Pedro, California. So
San Pedro, California. Okay.
we've got guesses from each side of the state, each side of the United States of America.
Boston and St. Pedro. Pedro.
San
Um,
Pedro, yeah.
Pedro. Okay, Pedro.
Pedro,
All
Pedro,
right.
tomato, tomato.
Well, that's interesting. We've got a West Coast and we've got an East Coast, and I will tell you right now, it is neither.
Well, that is that's not
But
exactly what we
thank you
were hoping for.
both for your guesses. The listener spotlight city for this episode is Duluth, Minnesota.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Duluth, Minnesota.
And here's how we got Duluth, Minnesota. Its harbor has a unique distinction around the world. It is the biggest inlet harbor in the world and the largest freshwater port in the U.S. The city has influenced how large numbers of people travel our country, and that is because that is where Greyhound bus lines started
Ah,
back in way back. I don't know what year, but it started in that area. The city once held a very fiery title. Duluth was once known as the match capital of the world. In the early 20th century, it was the home to the Diamond Cock Horseshoe Company, which was the world's largest producer of matches.
huh.
So there you have it. Diamond matches. I think I also told you it was named for an early explorer, named for an explorer. It was actually named for a Frenchman named Daniel Grisson Sieur Duluth. He was a French explorer. If you visit the city, local tales suggest you might need a bigger boat. And it is a reference from Jaws, but it's not a reference for the movie Jaws. The local tales claim that Duluth was the site of the first and possibly only, that's disputed, freshwater shark attack. Sharks generally hang out in saltwater, but supposedly someone in Duluth was attacked by a shark. And this last one I know you can appreciate. The city can take a little credit for major award-winning literature or a major award in literature. And that is because Bob Dylan was born in Duluth, and he won the 2016 Nobel Prize in Literature on the poetry side. So there's how we get the award-winning in literature.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a
That's
song for
right.
me.
That's right.
But you know what? You know what Bob Dylan does have?
What's that?
Heaven's Door whiskey.
He does indeed.
So,
He does indeed. I myself would have been, times are changing. Times
yeah,
are a changing whiskey, but he did
yeah.
Heaven's Door. That's okay.
Knock,
Knock, knock,
knock,
knocking on
knock,
heaven's
Heaven's
door.
Door. That's right. Actually, if you're
So,
into whiskey, they have a lot of nice ones. If you have indispensable amount of cash, bootlegger Heaven's Door is a nice one to pick up. But you better shine that penny up pretty good. That's about a $500 bottle. So I don't have one of those.
oh, okay.
Well, thank
So,
you.
thank you, Duluth.
I thought you were going to say they were the trading company. Every time I drive by freeways, I see Duluth Trading Company. So
No, I
no.
don't know maybe were headquartered in Duluth. I don't know about that one. So,
Well, that might
sorry.
have to be for another show. So,
That's right.
well, once again, that was Listener Spotlight. So we teased on our last episode for the 50th celebration that we were going to respin up or not respin up. We were just going to continue the Cycling Women of Leisure series. We have a very special guest that we were able to sit down with at a prior date. We've been holding back. We wanted to be selfish for our 50th celebration, but I did anyway.
Yeah,
And
we've been holding back. You make it sound like we interviewed him 6 months ago or something.
oh no, it was like
Yeah,
let's
it
see
was a
here,
couple weeks ago. I
a couple
mean,
weeks ago.
let's not make it sound like this is like aged or something. It's no extra credit here. It's not bourbon, so
That's true. But this is a person who we value a lot. She not only is man, this is where I could insert a one to Brim Nation joke, but I won't.
It's
She
too
is
late.
not. Oh, whoops, subliminal messaging. So, um, Melanie is our friend. She is our
Hmm.
teammate. But more than that, we found her story to be inspirational for not just women, but anyone out there who is thinking that I'd like to accomplish something more with cycling or have goals. And so, without further ado, why don't we play that now?
Let's do it.
And now, continuing the Cycling Women of Leisure series, we have a very special guest on. It is
We
a
do.
teammate, but at the same time, we've been told that she's got a phenomenal story, and I love to hear inspirational stories. Let me welcome Melanie Erickson. Melanie, welcome to Cycling Women of Leisure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Adam and Michael, for the invitation.
Absolutely. So, a little history here. We
Please.
actually met you on a bus on the way to RAGBRAI, the 50th anniversary, which some say Iowa's like heaven. My friend Tom says that. I think that year might have been more like hell, but that's just my own personal opinion. But not because of meeting you, because every day was 90 miles and 100,000 degrees outside. But um, you and Keith rode the bus, had some travel issues, but ended up making it. And had said, "Hey, we listened to your show. We were so excited about that." So, um, and then you decided you were crazy enough to join us at Bragg. I decided to wear my Bragg hat today. So, and we were lucky. And Michael, let's be honest, they're so cool because they wear DeBrims. I mean, let's.
I thought we agreed we were going to not mention DeBrems.
I didn't agree to that. I will never agree to that because it's one to Brim Nation, baby. So, Melanie,
I forgot
welcome.
my helmet. I should have grabbed it and, had it
know.
on with my DeBrim.
That's okay, really. Not needed. Anyway, we won't hold that against you.
So, well, welcome. So, tell us, you and Keith did RAGBRAI this year. We, Michael and I did Shoreline. First of all, what was it like to be on separate bikes and not on a tandem?
Good question.
This year was the 51st anniversary, and they decided instead of making it the longest, or, one of the longest in distance, they made it the hilliest. And so Keith and I decided we were going to make it even harder. And we rode separate bikes. We rode our touring bikes fully loaded. We were baggers. And so we just made it really hard on ourselves. But, we had some really good times, met some really great people, had some amazing experiences, and especially with the Iowa Nice and Iowa hospitality.
Right.
We had a great time. By the end, we were done.
Yeah.
We were tired.
They do have like charter services. Well, I know they have charter services, but you guys just decided, what the heck? We've done it with charter before. Now we're just going to drag all of our stuff along up and down the hills.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this was our 4th year we have done RAGBRAI, and every year we've ridden a different bike and done it a different way. So we really did it a different way this time. And I have to say, it would be hard to go back to using the charter, because it's so nice to have all of your stuff. Doesn't matter where you're at, you've got everything. You didn't leave your sunscreen in the bag that was going on the truck. You didn't forget your money. You have everything there. You pick where you want to stay. Yeah.
But the problem with that, as I'm chugging up this big hill in the non-flat Iowa, I have everything that I brought. Yes. That's my problem.
Well, I have to say, we did not have to walk up any hills. Our touring bikes are geared right. They are pinion drive with the Gates belts, and we have 18 speeds. So we were able to get up every single hill without having to walk it, and that was my goal, was just to not have to walk any hills.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
That's awesome. And to be clear, they did not have motors, minus your legs.
No motors.
No e-bikes. Okay.
No, gosh. But I think we need a few more years on us.
They generally do it on a tandem bike. So for anybody who is not aware of that, they're generally together on a tandem bike. So this is a really complete diversion from what you normally do. So
yeah, and we did all of our training this year on the tandem because we were training for Bragg, right? And so we got most of our miles in leading up to Bragg, and then I think we got maybe 100 miles in on our touring bikes that are new this year. So they were, it was getting to know those bikes. And, we had a little bit of a mechanical issue right at the beginning due to my mechanic, who happens to be my husband. But we did get it sorted out. So.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to let it go, but
really, we're just going to leave it at mechanic. But okay, that's fine.
He's very supportive of this show. He's going to hear that. So
he knows. I've asked him before. I'm like, hey, does it bother you when I rib you about being the mechanic who messed everything up? He said no. He thinks it's pretty funny too.
All right.
Yeah, he was probably wearing a debrim at the time, and that got him all messed up.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. That kept the sun out of his face when he was working on the bike. I mean, otherwise he would have carcinogens all over his face. It would have been horrible.
Right.
So
he could have sprayed some sunscreen in his eyeballs.
That's right. It would have been horrible. So besides the mechanical in the beginning, how'd the rest of the week go? Any flats? Any mechanicals after that?
No mechanicals after that. Awesome. No flats. Just smooth sailing. Slow, but smooth sailing.
As long as you get there.
I had one flat in Shoreline, but wasn't too bad. We kind of just pulled over and we teamed it and held this. Although there was one funny moment where we're using his automatic pump, and the thing's got a hose on it that's like this long, and I'm standing there listening to the thing going, brrr, and I'm looking at it going, this is where the trip ends right here. I'm holding the tire and I'm thinking, bam, this thing's going to explode in my face, but it did not. And we used one of those new real thin tubes, which really amazing. So if you're looking into those, I'm impressed. They were pretty cool. So
yeah, we actually did get one. We had it on Bragg with us because you guys had talked about getting one for Bragg, and so we've got to get one of these. And we had the same issue where we have pulled the core out before.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I think there's a learning curve there, and I wish there was a better way that, to figure it out so you don't pull it out. Because even after using it several times, we still managed to pull the core out.
And so in this Shoreline trip, I was basically the guy who would say, okay, I'll tell you what, because my stuff would normally be packed down. So I said, okay, I'm not going to be that guy who just stands here with my arms crossed, looking out and going, come on, let's go. We were trying to team it, and I would be the guy that would fill the tires. And I swear every morning I'd pull someone's core out. And even though I was like purposely holding that tube straight, I'm like, okay, I don't want to pull any cores out. Psst. Well, there went 120 PSI. And like Michael said, it's a good thing it's not 5 a.m. People would be really frustrated. So,
but the good news is, I think I found a solution to that problem.
Oh,
you did.
So stay tuned to our podcast, because in a couple of weeks I may have a solution that will resolve the whole using that and pulling the core out. So we'll see if it works.
Great. I'll be listening with my ears tuned, hoping for a good solution.
After multiple recordings, this is the first time that the number switched while we were talking. It literally just switched from 1237 to 1238. So I just heard it behind me. So pretty cool. So how was RAGBRAI in general? Was the town's, was it smaller? Did it feel smaller than the year before?
It definitely felt smaller. There were more people than I thought there were going to be. I thought the hills would scare a bunch of people off, but it was not the massive crowds like last year. You still had to get off your bike and walk it through town. But the small towns did a phenomenal job coming out and supporting all the riders.
Cool.
And it wasn't as hot. The weather was much nicer.
Cool.
The only thing we really had to contend with this year were the hills, and then we had headwinds towards the end of the week.
I saw Keith's post in Transparency. I love following you guys on Facebook, and I saw he would have a post about a day delayed, and so I would see like the day before where maybe you guys were resting, and then you would do his post from the day before. The day you did the 80 mile, he said that the headwinds were just horrible that day. So
yeah, that was the second 80, I think. The one towards the end of the week where they had the Century Loop.
Yeah.
We did not do the Century Loop. I mean, we were very aware of how long it was taking us to get through the regular 85 miles and the headwinds, and we're like, no, we're not gonna do that.
You know what? There's no bonus points or trophies. I mean, there's a
patch.
There is a patch.
You can buy it on eBay, I'm sure, if she really wanted it. So
now I have a very important question before we get into what we're brought you on to talk about. Did you see the birthplace the childhood home of John Wayne?
We did not. When we came into Winterset, it was a hike up this hill to get in. It was a hike to get up the hill into Winterset, and we had arranged to stay at Pepper Harrow Flower Farm that night. And so we got to the top of the hill right outside the John Wayne Museum, which, we were so late getting in, it was already closed, and realized that we had missed our turn, had to turn around, go back half a mile or so to make our turn. So no, we actually didn't do a lot of exploring in Winterset. That day kind of kicked our butts, but yeah.
All right, just wondering.
I know, but we did go to the American Gothic House in Eldon, Iowa. We stopped there and we went through the museum and had a great...
Did you do a picture out front?
We did not, because it was busy. There were a lot of people doing that. And, we paid our money to see the museum instead of getting our picture taken.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But you saw the house. So
we
that's
saw the house. Cool. I have pictures to prove it. And I think I even put it on Strava, so...
Oh, well, there,
right?
there
if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen.
That's right.
There you go.
Pause mine if I ever fall over. But any rain this year on RAGBRAI?
Not really. There were a couple of sprinkles. The first day was very, very foggy.
Okay.
For the first, 30 miles or so. You know, the kind of fog that fogs up your glasses and you can't even see out of them, and you have to beep, 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 beep. Use your fingers as windshield wipers. But that was...
when it rains, us with the brims, we have like a shield there, so we would have been fine. So
yeah. When
on.
When I rode through sprinklers this year, I didn't have to duck and hide to hide my glasses, because my debrim just kept that right off my glasses.
I will say, while he won't wear one, he will admit in Perry, Georgia, and Bragg, where it was coming down like mercy buckets, you were a little jealous of my overhang, and I do mean my debrim overhang.
Thanks for clarifying overhang there. That was a few pounds ago, so yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe once out of all the rides we've done, I maybe saw an advantage, but that...
We don't have to listen to him anymore. So anyways, that's a great thing. His stepson loves the fact that I sometimes censor him, and so they went on vacation, and then he got such a kick out of it every time Michael was like, "We're gonna do this," beep. You don't want to hear it, so
we're not going to McDonald's. Beep.
You don't have to invite him next time.
I know. I mean, maybe. Oh wait, no. So I did see, and I'm curious if now that you've been home for a little bit, a very emotional post by your husband, the mechanic, who said that maybe you guys are, dare I say it, done with RAGBRAI? Is that a true statement?
For now.
Yeah.
For now. We have used our vacation time for 4 years now, 4 years in a row, to carve out that week for RAGBRAI, week plus, right? Because you have your travel on either end.
Right.
And this year we did brag, and we want to branch out to some other rides. And
cool.
We'd like to maybe do a little more of the bike packing. We're talking about like the C&O and the C&O Canal Trail and the Gap Trail, maybe stringing those together for a ride, or the Katy Trail, or...
I was going to say, right next door here, Katy Trail.
Yeah. So
are you saying we could all stay at your house and then go on the Katy Trail, buddy?
Absolutely. Wow. Excellent. I got a camper too. I got extra room. Yeah, we can make it work.
Well, we may just take you up on that, Michael.
Absolutely.
It is in Central Time, but we can both put up with that, right? I mean,
I think so.
All the time zones today, we've made the schedule work, so I think we can make it work. So, but I got a kick out of when you said the almighty Michigan. I'm like, yes, I love it. But Michael was like, oh my gosh. So, okay. Well, thank you for giving us the update on RAGBRAI. For Michael, I did ask him when we weren't recording. I said, hey, do you miss it? Do you feel it? Do you wish we were there? And he and I had a little bit of a difference of opinion. He had the opinion of, and if I'm wrong, please put me in my place here. But
I will.
No, I don't miss it. I'm fine with it. I want to see other roads. And I was a mixed emotions. I want to see other places. So we did Shoreline, and we're looking at some other things. But truthfully, seeing you guys out there and seeing some of our other friends and I kind of wanted to. like during that week, I'm like, man, I'm normally in Iowa this week. And so, although I was able to participate in a thing at work called the bus rodeo, and I'm usually gone, so that was kind of good that I got to go to there. But I had a mixed emotions. A part of me was wishing I was there, and another part of me was like, um, I, it's this. You probably heard the story. We were traveling down the road one day, and I said, "God, we've been right here." And he was like, "How can you tell we've been right here?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been down this exact road." And we got to camp that night. I pulled it up on Strava because there's nothing else to do when you're sitting around in camp. And I looked it up. I'm like, look, and he's like, oh my gosh, you were right. And it was that moment we were like, okay, we got to do something else. There's so much more.
The only thing that I missed is I'm a big John Wayne fan. I have been to Winterset and visited, but Adam can attest. Every year before they did the announcement, it's like, I want to ride through Winterset. And the one year they rode through Winterset, we didn't do it. But other than that, I'm ready to see new roads, see new territories, try new things. So,
and the funny
I think
thing
it'll be
somehow,
hard next year when RAGBRAI gets going and the Facebook posts start ramping up again. That, I think there's going to be a little bit of regret that we're not doing it, but we've got to pick and choose now, right? We only have so much vacation time, and we've had some great experiences and met some great people on RAGBRAI. We'll be back. We just want to do some other things in the meantime.
Absolutely.
And I think Michael, you and I said we'll do it again at some point, but we wanted to take a break for a while. So now Bragg, on the other hand, we've decided to go back. We've got and truthfully, I mean, I'll be 100% transparent. It's more for the friends that we've made and such a great impact for the show and the core basis. If you look at the stats, when we go in the deep dive of data, we can see we have so many Georgia friends. And so for us, it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to go back. We're going to go back. So at least this year, I'm not sure 2025 we will. I'm not sure after that.
We'll see.
Yeah, but at least this year, that's one of the ones. And then we're going to try to find something else to do.
Completely different.
So maybe we'll just do like the fault line. That's the one we've been looking at a little bit.
It's on the list, so we'll never know.
Well, you never know if we'll follow you, right?
There you go. Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, you'd be welcome. Now, the only story I didn't tell with RAGBRAI, then we're going to move forward, is in the middle of Iowa, you go to the expo and you run into our sales rep for our Jersey store. And how did that happen? I mean, did you go buy the Jack Rue tent and then say, hey, blah, blah, blah? Or was it just random? Or
so I happened to be wearing my Cycling Men of Leisure jersey. I don't know what you call these, the little jackets.
Oh, the performance hoodies.
The performance hoodies. And Keith and I had purchased them with the intention to kind of wear them to Iowa. And
I knew I loved you.
The day of the expo, it started out just pouring rain. And then by the time midday came, it had cleared up a bit, but it wasn't super hot out. And so we had our hoodies on. Jack Rue was set up at the expo, and he recognized the logo right off the bat. He's like, hey, that's one of my customers. And so I started talking to him, and I said, I made a terrible mistake when I ordered my Cycling Men of Leisure. I misunderstood the ordering system, thought that because I had put in my women's size, that I would get the women's. And alas, the women's does have a different SKU. So make sure if you want the women's that you go to that SKU and order the right one. But they got me hooked up for the right one, and appreciate the assistance. Oh yeah.
And then according to his email to me, is he was going to take the men's version of the ladies cut back and then use that for trade shows. Is that true?
That's what he had told me when we were in Iowa. And then when it came down to making the transaction, they told me to keep it.
Wow. Awesome.
And just to make sure I become talk them up and what great service they are, and the product is great. And so, yes, Jack Rue, give him 2 thumbs up.
Okay.
There we go. Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, that's an honest review. I knew part of it because one day I was out doing my workout and all of a sudden I got this text and it was Keith, and he's like, "Hey, when you get a chance, can you give me his email?" Well, he has been our sales rep and the design team at Jack Rue for the minimal ordering that we're actually doing, which we're hoping that with more events, then it'll actually pay off better. He's so receptive, and he's like, absolutely, I want to take care of you. I want to take care of you. And so Keith had said that he gave him, Jerome or whatever, gave the card to Keith.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 minutes later, Keith's like, I'm at the expo, I lost it. And he's like, can you give me his number? I'm like, boom, boom. So, and then that's how I guess that all happened. So great to hear.
Good to hear.
I think they're phenomenal products. They've been a great team to work with. Their design team, we literally put a request in for something, and within less than 24 to 48 hours, it's on the store. So our store is growing. We've got Jersey, which is obviously
what I'm wearing right now. If you're
Ooh.
looking at us in the, not ours, but the RAGBRAI one, it's kind of the collared shirt made out of performance material.
the young man in Bragg, Phoenix, who unfortunately got hurt and had to go home, and we're sorry that we missed him. He inspired our jersey, so we had to spin one up for him and anyone else who wants it, by the way. But that was the inspiration was Phoenix. So if you met him, maybe he was the young 15-year-old boy who always had dad jokes left and right. So
I don't think I had the pleasure of meeting him this year.
too bad. He was a good guy, and then he had a crash, and I'm not so much sure that it was hurt, but just I think pride and nervousness, and all of us have had that where you're like, oof, I don't want to fall on it. But that being said, all right. So your husband and your mechanic has told us that you've got an inspirational cycling story, and being the Cycling Women of Leisure series, we would love if you could kick us off on your story and tell us, because I actually don't know. I asked you to keep it quiet until today. So tell us, what is the inspirational story?
So I want to first start off by saying that I am not an athletic person. I have never been an athletic person. The thought of exercising, doing anything active, just did nothing for me ever. And as our kids started getting older, my husband said, hey, we've got to figure out what we're going to do when they're out of the house. We've spent a lot of time catering to their needs, and we need to look at what can we do as a couple to be close after all the kids are gone. And this was about the time our two oldest are twins. They'll be 28 the end of this month. And thanks. They were getting ready to graduate. And I thought, well, Keith, he's riding a bike. Maybe I can get a bike. And I had volunteered at a couple of the charity events that he had cycled in. And, I just really loved the community. I loved the support and the inclusiveness that I saw at these events. And I said, okay, I want a bike. I want to participate in these events. So got a bike, kind of started riding a little bit. We had, where we were living at the time, there was a great rail trail right across the road from our subdivision. And I could ride that about 6 or 7 miles to the next town to catch my train to work. And I got a bike storage locker, so I'd, ride my bike down there occasionally. I'm totally a fair weather rider. So, here in Washington, that means like May through August. But I, would keep my bike in the storage locker, and then I'd pick it up at the end of the day and cycle home. Totally flat, nothing hard. And after doing that for, a summer, I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready to participate in these events that, different organized rides. So the first one that I was part of it was a really cool ride that they do in Seattle called the Emerald Ride. And the year that I rode in it, they blocked off all the highways. And so you did a loop. You went up I-5, and then you cut over on the, I don't remember the name of it, up north by University of Washington. Then you came down and then cut across on the I-90 back to the starting point. So it was really cool. You got they shut the highways down. You got to ride them, and it was like 22 miles. Like, okay, I got this. And it was hard when you're going up over bridges. You don't think that there's much of an incline, but there is. And I was just mortified when I was, headed back, and a kid on a scooter passed me. I'm like, oh my goodness, I am just, and I was not in shape. I was quite a bit heavier than I am now, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'll just train harder, right? I'll ride more. And so that fall, participated in the MS ride that they do in Deception Pass. And that ride is, it benefits MS research. And you have 4 different distances that you can pick on day one. And they had a 22-mile one. I'm like, I just did 22 miles. Like, I know I can do that. Let's go to the next one. So I picked the 60-mile. And the idea was to ride out to the lunch stop and then ride back, essentially an out and back. And the day was just awful. The weather was awful. It was pouring rain. We went down the first big hill.
It was raining in
I know,
Washington? I
so
am
weird.
so surprised.
Raining in September in Washington? Yeah, really weird. Going down the first hill, it was raining so much. We had to stop at the bottom of the hill and dump water out of our shoes. There was that much coming up off the roads. By the time we got to the halfway point for the 60 miles, the lunch stop, I was done. I was cold. I was soaking wet, and I knew I did not have 60 more miles or 30 more miles in me. So I sagged back, and I was just so disappointed in myself. I was sure I was going to be able to hit that 60-mile mark, and I didn't. And I was just kicking myself. What could I have done differently? How could I have made it? And, honestly, I couldn't have. With the shape I was in, the weather the way it was, the way I was dressed, none of it worked together to have made for a successful 60-mile ride in the rain. And that's really what kicked off my motivation to get healthy. And so I used that winter, got a Peloton. I was Pelotoning 5 nights a week, and I was eating better, and I dropped about 50 pounds by the time summer rolled around.
Awesome.
And when I was able to finally get on my road bike, I went so fast. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I have improved so much.
I like the wind bullseye.
Yeah. So I really trained hard that summer too. I rode 1,400 miles, and my goal was I was going to hit the next level up. I was going to bypass the 60 on that MS ride, and I was going to do 80 miles. Like, I can do it. I can do it. And we rode with a combined team from our work, and then there were some other people in there too. And one of the guys that was on the team, he rode the 80 with me. And he was so encouraging, and I had a flat, and he helped me fix the flat, and I made it. And I was so proud of myself that I, hit that goal. I could not believe that I had actually done 80 miles. That was by far the longest distance I had ever tried to and completed. And I just kept cycling. And the next year, yeah, you want to guess? I opted to go for the 100 miles. Like, why not?
Cool.
I've done all the others. Let's go for the 100 miles. But not only did I do the 100 miles on the MS Deception Pass ride, but I also completed five other centuries that summer.
Whoa!
And
nice.
I was in my prime. I was just so like eat, sleep, breathe bicycling. That's all I could think about. I'd come home from work and I'd hit the rail trail, and I'd, the couple towns away, if I did a round trip, it's 26 miles, and I could, do that in under 2 hours, run down and back and, still make my bedtime. And just really trained hard. I had a friend from work that kind of lives, well, not super close to me, but along the train route home. And so I would park my bike at the train station in the morning and take the train up to work, and then we would ride home like once a week. And her home, I would drop her at the place she would go off and head to her house, and I'd continue on. And so my my evening rides on those once a week during the summer were about 34 miles. 34 miles in one shot, and do that once a week plus the rides on the weekends. And I was averaging 100 miles a week through that summer, just to be ready for all
Wow,
those centuries.
that's awesome. That's
So what year did this journey begin? What year did you start this?
2016
Okay.
was when I got my bike. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start doing this. Yeah.
Well, I think that's awesome because we Adam shared his story about how he was riding and then had a health scare and really started um, getting healthier. And so I think it's cool, and I think it really demonstrates your story. Really demonstrates that, and what we promote, a community. Really about let's motivate each other. Let's be there for each other. We're not all going to be able to go out. In fact, most people starting ridings aren't going to be able to go out and do a century ride, that first year that they get riding. And I think that's demoralizing because I think sometimes when people start riding, they're immediately like, oh, I'm going to do 75 or 100 miles this year. And really that's not in most people's wheelhouse to be able to do it, especially if, maybe if you're 25 or under, you might be able to pull that off. But, you've got to have realistic expectations when you're going out there. And you had one bad ride, but that's one bad ride. That didn't like derail your whole idea of wanting to go out and hit the road and stuff. So I think your story is good in that it shows cycling is this great community of support. And there are going to be setbacks. I mean, there's times when you and I, Adam, are riding days that we're riding and it's just like we've got another 35 miles to go, and either you or I, it's like, man, we're just done. I mean, we're just really going to have to, we keep going, but this is going to take us a lot longer than normal, just the way it is. So
and that's where in our case, that's where the friendship is bonded,
yeah.
because we've had an agreement from day one of riding together, which is if one of us feels it, okay, no problem, we're not going to hold the other one back. Now, out of respect for each other, we usually pull over and wait. And the years of big boy Adam, Michael would smoke me, and then it's sometimes it's hard in your mind to be like, oh my god, I'm so far back. Am I ever going to catch my friends? And then, but the same was the opposite. Where this year, I'm Adam 2.0, and I mean, like you said, you were 50 pounds, and goodbye, see ya. Same thing, but we've always had this agreement where we're going to wait for each other or support each other. And I'll give you a ride exactly where we did that. We were doing a ride across Illinois, and it was
Mm-hmm.
160 miles, and which we were somewhat out of our element. There was some few issues there, but we won't go into that. I did tell you and Keith at the gas station that day, but but we were 125 in, and both of us were just spent. I mean, and so we would pull over, and then we would rest, and then we would do 10 miles, then we'd pull over, and we'd do 5 miles or 10, and just kind of work our way. But your story could have had an opposite ending. Your story you could have first done the first 60, got in the rain, and said, "Forget this, I'm selling this thing." And I think you're better woman than me, because you did 6 centuries or whatever in one year. During my
Well, I
RAGBRAI,
hope she's a better woman than you, but we won't get into that right now.
well, that was said for comic relief, but I do the same thing at work. I said, "Well, you're a better woman than me," but um, my story, of course, I've told here on this show, which is during 2016. I'd never tried a century before, and like you said, I mean, Michael saw me that day in the middle of Iowa. I probably looked like I was going to die. and,
Yeah.
and he just said, "Hey, man, you can ride with me." And I don't think I would have ever finished. I think I would have sagged in if it wouldn't have been for Michael, to be honest. Um, and when you're done, it's really weird, because then you're like, oh, well, I could go more. I could do that, because once you're done, then it's like this pressure is off until the next morning when you got to get on the bike and you're like, ooh, ow. So, but that is. Keith said your story would be inspirational, and I'm so glad that you shared it here with us, because I think this resonates with people who are getting into cycling and thinking that maybe not so much long distance if they're not in a long distance, but adventure like bike packing. And I told Michael last night, we were doing some show prep for the few shows coming up. I'm doing some traveling, and so we put a bunch of work in together. And I told him last night, I can fully admit that doing a century where I park in one parking lot and then circle back and ending in the same parking lot
The
is
loop.
not as exciting to me as doing a century where I'm, I don't know, X town and then go
Point A to
east.
B.
Yeah,
Mhm.
go and then go east 100 miles or whatever, and then finishing that. That's much more exciting to me than circling back to the car. So your story could have had a different ending. I mean, you could have done the cold. By the way, the rain and cold is exactly what happened to us at Shoreline recently. Both of us were freezing. We had to
Mm.
jump in the shower trailer, and then we got in the car, and I think we had the heat on for the first 40 miles driving home. So um, it was definitely a cold day. It was 50 degrees out, and we were 10 miles in. We were going up to Mission Point, and it just started to pour, and we're like, we'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no.
wonder what our Georgia friends were thinking. Like, these Michigan boys are nuts. So,
And
um,
and since 2016, now we've talked a little bit about it. You guys have got a tandem, so you do
Mhm.
tandem cycling, and you've got tour bikes now, so you're
Yep.
doing the tour bike thing. So
and
you've
they
just
have
really
spring.
absorbed this cycling and just taken it to the next level as far as doing the tandem and then doing the tour, because I think we probably told you about our outlook on tandem. I mean, honestly, if I rode tandem with my wife, the joke
Divorce
is that
attorney.
in the box comes with divorce papers, because so many times you go up that hill and there's a couple, at the top, and they're
Mhm.
having a discussion, which seems a bit heated and it's a bit tense, and you can feel it, and you just keep going. But yeah, I think we would have gotten a divorce if we got on a tandem bike and tried to ride. So
I think that riding a tandem is not something I ever thought we would do. In fact, I'm like, there's no way I could ever ride a tandem with Keith. First of all, he's a terrible driver. You know,
He listens to the
I
show.
do, I do,
Okay.
and
Okay.
he knows that. I've
we'll
got
have him on in a couple of shows for rebuttals. So don't worry about it.
yeah. So I just and he's very much the stop along the way and take lots of stops, and I'm like go to get there, right? So
Okay.
on other RAGBRAIs prior to us taking the tandem on it last year, I would, we'd ride together for the first couple miles, and then I'd like, hey, meet you in the next town. And I'd get to the next town, wait for him to come in, and, we'd spend the time together in the town, then, rinse and repeat for the whole day. The tandem forces us to be together all the time.
Yeah, you
And
better not wait for him in the
yeah,
next town.
yeah, it's not like he can, we could leave one or the other behind. You'd surely notice. But it's really improved our communication and, letting each other know what we want. And I think that would be very hard in an early marriage or an early relationship with somebody to have that kind of communication. I mean, we've been married almost 31 years, so I think that if we can weather all the raising 5 kids and all the other stuff that comes along with life, that the tandem is easy compared to some of the other stuff that we've done.
That's
Well,
cool.
I am a happily married man, but I'm going to tell you that you don't look like you've been married 31 years. And when you earlier told us before hitting record that you had 5 children, I was like, wow, I would not have guessed that. So good job for you. I think the cycling is working. I think cycling keeps us young. So that's what I tested for. But, um, you know, I think you're right about the tandem thing because how many times have you heard the joke? She's not pedaling. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've
Oh,
heard that about 5 billion
daily.
times
Yeah.
daily.
I think you've heard it from Adam every day he passes you or you
Where's
pass
my
Yeah.
him.
pencil?
So, I mean,
There it is. Be quiet. I actually like making that stupid joke, and but if I know the people, it's more fun. I have met some people where I've said she's not pedaling, and the guy gets really angry up front. He's like, "Rah, rah, rah." I'm like, dude, you gotta let it go, buddy. I mean, it's got a long day in the saddle if you're gonna let that make you mad. So, um, I like your guys' tandem bike. I like that the fact that it has like a carbon chain,
The
not
belt
chain, but
drive.
belt. Yeah,
the
the
belt,
belt
yeah.
drive.
Hmm.
That's nice. I like the quick disconnect, so the whole thing comes apart. I think the way that you guys have taken it apart and shown, watched your pictures and stuff. I think that's really cool. What is the name of that bike?
It's a co-motion.
Co-motion. And what's funny is another woman on our team, Annette,
Yes.
had a co-motion. So
Mm-hmm.
that was great. So
Every time
um,
we'd pass each other, we'd yell out, "Yay, go co-motion!"
And ironically,
This
isn't
team
she
is
from Washington too?
She's from the
Don't.
Northwest. Is she from
She's
Washington?
she's from Washington or Oregon.
I think
Oregon.
she might be from Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay, is it one of those?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't
Yeah.
remember, but she's from up there
Mhm.
I know
in that
that
part of the world.
all of you guys had to fly in, and she flew in early, and her posts are always so funny because she's like, "Where can I store my bike box? In the back of the hotel or something?" I'm like, you could maybe Franklin will hold it for you. What about Bragg? Are you guys interested at all in coming back to Bragg or no?
I think someday we will want to do Bragg again. We talked about limited vacation time, and we have a family reunion we've got to get to next year. So that really only leaves us possibly one other bicycling adventure next year. And I'm not sure Bragg's going to hit the list for next year.
What's funny is Michael and I started the year off thinking we were going to do 3 cycling trips, and then with both of our schedules, both of our work schedules, and then personal, he's got a family where they do camping and stuff. We were only able to do 2 this year, but we are looking at a non-cycling trip.
Yes.
I told him to give me some weekends we can take advantage of my timeshare and chasing the white ball in Florida. And we usually take all the podcasting stuff and do some shows down there. So, but doesn't always have to be in cycling, but
no, but it sure is fun.
It sure is fun.
It is.
Sure is.
Well, one of these days, he loves golf. I love golf. I'm just no good at it. I told him one of these days we're going to be cycling someplace, and you pass golf courses all the time. I'm going to say, let's stop. Let's grab a bucket of balls, rent a couple of clubs, and we'll go to the driving range in our cycling gear and just hit a bucket of balls and do a little podcast from there. I think that would be cool.
Now, I have offered him, by the way, just as a side note, to do cycling golf of leisure, or golfing men of leisure, or something like that. And he's like, "Yeah, but I don't golf." I'm like, "We got to change that, buddy."
Well, I golf, but not on a regular basis. Now, not like you. I mean, I'm not on like a league or anything like that. But
hey, we're playing for 3rd and 4th place. So there's 2 guys who are a little bit better than us, which I'm fine with saying there are people better. But Wednesday night is the championship. So if we get 3rd, we walk away with a little money. If we get
4th, you just walk away.
You walk away with
good.
Place.
If you're not first, you're last.
That's right. Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
I wake up and never mind. I promise to keep the show clean.
Yeah.
Which is difficult because if you've ever been with me in real life, it's not always easy. But I could always bleep myself there. But well, Melanie, I know that we know you, and I really appreciate that all of you and Keith's support. When Michael and I started this, we never thought it would be where it is, and
no.
We've got a celebration, and this show is going to actually come out after our 50th episode celebration. So you are now part of the upper half of the 50 to 100 show. So, and nothing better to kick it off with a lady like yourself who we think the world of. And so, while Michael is not on board with the DeBrim, I think that you guys are awesome for being DeBrim friends and One DeBrim Nation. # One DeBrim. Look it up. So.
I won't hold it against you. I may make fun of you, but I will not hold it against you. So.
Listen, we don't care. Once you get to a certain age, you don't care what other people think.
And there's power in numbers, Michael.
Absolutely.
The number one
these things is not like the other. I mean, he does live in Central Time. I mean, come on. So.
Yeah.
Well, please share our best to your husband and mechanic.
Yes.
We think the world of both of you. I have to tell you, one of the biggest smiles on my face in a long time was when you guys were on your way to RAGBRAI and you sent me the picture on the plane, and I immediately I right away I sent it to Michael. I'm like, dude, they're on a freaking airplane and they're wearing cycling men of leisure,
sporting our gear. It was an awesome picture. Absolutely.
We did have one of the flight attendants ask us about it too.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And then the day that you guys actually wore the jersey, Keith said that you guys had a couple people who were, hey, you have cats like me. So
we have a few of them.
Yeah, me too. I have 2, but
we have 5 in residence right now.
I mean, 5 kids, 5 cats. Keith is probably really outnumbered. So, but But yeah, that was a great day and to see that. But he said that you guys were actually riding and people were asking. So you were
Hmm.
wearing the Cycling Movement of Leisure jersey, and then
Yes.
they were like, "What's that all about?" And you guys were able to talk about it. So,
Yeah,
We
we ought
um,
appreciate it.
to get some stickers and hand them
oh,
out
uh,
when people start
We we
asking.
can we can hook you up, and we will hook you up actually.
we
So absolutely.
let me tell you this much: we had stickers, and we meant to pass them out at Shoreline, but by the time you got in, we actually got to visit with people. And so what would happen is we would
What?
sit. I know. We would sit and talk to people, and by the time the night was over, I'm like, "We didn't pass any stickers out." And he'd go, "Man, we got to do that tomorrow." And then we'd be like, "We didn't pass any stickers out." And
But we
we were,
talked to a lot of people,
yeah,
had a lot of great people, had a lot of good conversations. So that's all that really matters.
that's right. So well, thank you, Melanie. You really made the evening. I was really looking forward to this all day. So thank you so much for giving us some of your time and agreeing to be on the show and telling your story. I think to anyone who's out there who might listen to us or who has a friend who says, I know someone who's having a hard time getting an inspirational start in cycling. I think that's very inspirational. The fact that the Peloton, which is not easy, and if anyone's ever had one of those trainers, the dedication that it takes to jump on that thing. It's easy to hang a sweater on, it's easy to dry a shirt on, but to jump on it and actually use it on a regular basis, because I have one right behind that wall that I must tell you that doesn't always get the love and attention that it should. But I'm hoping with my journey this year that I'm going to be seeing it a little bit more. Um, Got to do something, that's for sure. But that's not easy. And then going out and doing 30 of the 60, and then coming back and saying, not only am I going to do 60, I'm going to do 80, and then the next jumping to a century. And if you're just catching this show and not sure what a century is like the almighty. Like I did 100
It's like
miles
the
on my
pinnacle
bicycle.
of cycling. You did 100 miles in a day.
And people say, "You rode 100 miles?" Yeah, in one day, baby.
And
One
let me tell
Yeah.
day.
you, when you've done a century, I remember still doing my first century. When you ride on your bicycle for 100 miles, you realize the freedom that you have in
Hmm.
cycling because you're well, 100 miles back home, I could have went all the way there and back. And it's just incredible once you've done that to go on a bicycle. I can go a long ways. It's a great feeling.
How
Yeah.
far is
The
the
world's
gorge
open to
from
you
you?
now.
And
Exactly.
how far is the gorge from you?
About 3.5 hours, I think, by
Okay,
car.
by
four
car.
hours. My daughter was just there this weekend. I should ask her.
And another part of my life, I used to be a Dave Matthews
Ah,
Band groupie and follow all over the place. Many times I flew into SeaTac and then we'd rent a car and then take the take is it five out
90.
to 90? Yeah,
Yeah.
out to the George Washington, the Gorge and George, and then we stayed in Moses Lake. And so another part of my life where tickets were only $38, and now they're like $238. So, uh, so
Crazy.
now it's YouTube for me. So
Well,
those
if
were
you
that was
guys ever want to come out this way and experience some of the cycling out here, we'd love to have you out here. There's a couple of, we don't have week-long events necessarily, but there's a couple of 2-dayers that are challenging.
Well, we've
And
we've been talking
yeah,
about doing a couple shorter ones as opposed to the long ones,
yeah.
but we're looking at our calendar and hopefully this next year, well, we will keep in touch, find out what you guys are doing. You never know when we might be able to sync up and ride some more miles together.
That would be awesome. I would highly look forward to it. I highly enjoy you and Keith's company. I mean, listen, if you wear it to brim, you know that life is good. So, um,
It never stops.
let me give you your evening back, Melanie. We highly appreciate your time. I've had a great time, and thank you. It's wonderful catching up with you, and thank you so much.
Thank
thanks
you.
again for having me on.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, we really appreciate Melanie coming on. It was wonderful having her. I, of course, love teasing you about the brim, but that's okay. We still love you, brother. Um, but I thought her story was inspirational.
Oh, it was a fantastic story.
What if she would have
Fantastic
quit?
story.
What if she would have went on that first ride, cold, wet, feet wet, and said, "Forget it." Think of the adventures she would have missed out on. So, just awesome. So, Melanie, I know it's not always easy to be on a show and be on a podcast, but thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. So,
yes, greatly appreciated.
Well, I tell you what, we kind of went a little longer. We keep saying we're not going to do this, but it keeps happening. So
I can't stop you sometimes. You just want to talk and talk
I know,
and
but I
talk.
felt that all the people who took their energy to write us, I mean, I thought that they would deserve
I agree.
to be out
I
there.
agree.
So,
and people are listening to us at 1.6. So, you know, this is really only a 35-minute podcast at that speed.
I mean, Ed's like, I don't have time for YouTube. He's got just a little bit of time for us. He doesn't have the full time. He's got 1.6.
I'll give you 42 minutes. That's all I'm giving you. 1.5, I can make it. Yeah.
I wonder what his commute is. He's like, I can get there. So actually he travels a lot. So we appreciate him. So I'll tell you what, why don't we jump into our ending of the show? Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for Listener Spotlight.
All right. I got some good clues this week, I think.
Okay.
This city was originally named after a fur trader. Not St. Louis.
Which
you can see St. Louis. You can see 3 states from some location in this town.
Huh.
The settlement that became this town was originally created by miners. And that settlement was created before the area actually became the state that it's in. So that means there was no state there originally. Following the Civil War, the economy was based or flourished around transportation and lumber. And this town pioneered TV reception in the 1950s.
Wow.
Yes. So there you go. That's what I got.
Well, okay.
No guesses?
No. I'm trying to do like a play on words like pioneer versus TV. I'm wondering like pioneered versus the brand Pioneer. So that's in my mind. And then like fur trading in 3 states. I don't know why, but when you said 3 states, I pictured like Cairo, Illinois, where you're right there. The bridges go each way to Kentucky and Tennessee. But those are my only guesses. And so I like to do the guesses now, so then it's on tape, and or on digital proof. So later I can be like, I was thinking that. Like, no, you weren't. Yes, I was. I opened my big mouth. So, thank you to all of our listeners, and thank you for everybody who took the time to write us and the fan mail, and thank you again to Scott. That'll definitely be helpful and help us go further into the goal here. So thank you so much, sir. And we appreciate all of you. And so that being said, today was a great day for a bike ride.
Was indeed.